The story begins with a woman named Libby who's traveling by train to her father's house. She is about to get married that day. This will be her third marriage, as her previous two husbands had left her. After getting off the train, Libby meets her father and they head home together. On the way, her father tells her that the man she is going to marry is a simple farmer, but he will take good care of her. At home, Libby meets her mother and Roy is also there. The moment Roy sees Libby, he likes her and agrees to marry her. However, Libby tells him that she is pregnant. Even though Roy knows the child belongs to her boyfriend, he does not mind and still agrees to the marriage. The next day, they have a very simple wedding in a church, attended only by Roy's sister and her husband. Roy hadn't even bought a ring because he didn't expect much from the marriage, but Libby says she doesn't need one. Soon, they are married. After the wedding, Roy's sister gives Libby a gift and loads some essential items into Roy's small truck so they can manage well for a few days. Then Roy and Libby leave for home, which is located far from the market. After some time, they arrive. Roy lives alone, as his parents have passed away. At home, Libby looks around. Roy welcomes her warmly, but she doesn't respond much. Still, Roy takes good care of her. He buys a refrigerator, arranges hot water, prepares a separate room for her, and promises to build a kitchen soon. Libby has never worked in a kitchen, so she suggests getting a cookbook to learn. Roy tells her the library is far away. That night, they sleep in separate rooms. Later, Libby looks at a locket containing Edward's picture, showing she still hasn't moved on. The next morning, Libby wakes up and finds Roy gone. While exploring the house, she sees an old watch in his room. Hearing Roy return, she quickly closes the box. When Roy comes back, Libby asks to go to town, but she actually wants to find a phone booth to call her sister Abby. The trip is long, and after a few hours, they reach the town. Roy goes to the library to get books for her, while Libby calls her sister. She cries and shares her struggles and asks about Edward, but there is no news about him. Meanwhile, at the library, Roy looks for books on cooking and caring for a newborn baby. As he later watches Libby, he sees a sad woman searching for something in her life. On the way back home, Roy lets Libby drive the truck. As it moves slowly and smoothly down the road, Libby smiles genuinely for the first time. Roy continues to care for her in many ways, including teaching her how to drive. On the way, Libby notices farmers working in the fields and asks who they are. Roy tells her that they are Japanese workers collecting food for the government. On that day, when they went to church for prayer, the gossiping women of the town gathered around and began asking questions about the beautiful new bride who had come from outside. They were very curious about how the two of them met and fell in love. Seeing this, Roy quickly stepped in to help her and took her away from all the rumors. For the first time, Libby felt that she was being valued. However, she still couldn't get that unfaithful man out of her heart. After stepping outside, Libby secretly sent another letter. That evening, after sunset, Libby stepped out of the house and walked toward the fields. There, she met two Japanese-American women. Because of the attack on Pearl Harbor, they had been blamed and arrested. Now, they worked in the fields and spent their spare time collecting information about butterflies. Libby had a pleasant conversation with the two women, but soon they had to return to work. Before leaving, Libby invited them to visit her home next time. It felt like life was slowly moving in a better direction. The next day, when Libby went to the hospital, she learned that her delivery date was much sooner than she had expected. She became worried. When she came out, Roy asked what had happened. Libby told him that the baby would be born by December, but she was afraid of what people would say when they found out. Roy comforted her, saying that he didn't care about what people thought, he only wanted to see her happy. After returning home, Libby tried to cook for Roy, but her cooking was very poor. She added so much chili that the food became extremely spicy. Even then, Roy praised her and said it was delicious. Thinking he liked it, Libby eagerly brought more food for him, but Roy gently refused. After eating, Roy stepped outside to continue his work. That night, they left for a party. At the birthday party, they greeted everyone and sat down together. After a while, music started playing. Libby enjoyed it and invited Roy to dance. At first, their dance was awkward and hesitant, but gradually it became graceful and fun. Soon, people started clapping and praising their pairing. Later, Roy's sister's birthday was celebrated. The next day, Roy returned home again, while Libby stayed inside preparing food. Just then, her two new Japanese friends, Rose and Florence, called out to her. The three of them sat together and talked about their lives. Rose and Florence shared that after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the government had taken their home and sent them to work on Roy's farm. Libby felt deep sympathy for them, but as an ordinary person, she could only offer small help. After some time, they left. On the other hand, Roy did not share the same sympathy toward the Japanese people. Libby explained that she had become friends with Rose and Florence because they shared similar thoughts and interests. Unlike others in the town, they didn't just talk about farming and weather, they understood deeper things. Roy understood her point and said nothing. That evening, they went to Roy's sister's house for dinner. During the meal, Roy suddenly brought up Edward. Libby was surprised. She couldn't believe he remembered what she had said. She responded with a soft smile, and a warm feeling spread through her heart. For the first time, they both felt a connection. That night, when they returned home, Roy tried to kiss Libby, but she got nervous and stepped back, then went into her room. Roy simply watched her. The next morning, Libby was sitting near her door when she saw her younger sister approaching. She jumped with joy and ran to greet her. After exchanging greetings, her younger sister revealed that she didn't like Roy and wanted them to divorce. She even suggested spreading a rumor in the church that Roy was an alcoholic, so Libby could leave him and return to the city. However, Libby firmly refused this foolish idea. Yes, it was true that her marriage had been forced by circumstances, but she could not defame Roy for her own benefit. Since the marriage, Roy had always treated her like a true gentleman. He not only accepted her child with an open heart. When Libby said goodbye to her sister, she remained firm in her decision. She asked her to deliver a letter to Edward. As time passed, Libby slowly began to find happiness in farm life. One day, Florrie was sketching a soldier. When Rose asked about it, she tore the drawing apart. In reality, she was in love with an American soldier from the camp, but she didn't want to tell Rose. Later, Libby went with Florrie and Rose to a clothing shop. There, some Americans looked at the two Japanese women with suspicion, as if they were spies for the Japanese government. They even said insulting things to Libby, questioning why she was with them and suggesting she might be anti-American too. Libby felt deeply hurt, but she didn't let it break her spirit. After dropping them back at the camp, Libby headed home. On the way, her fuel ran out. While refilling the tank from a spare container, she noticed an old house nearby. It was actually Roy's grandparents' house. Inside, she found many antique items. Since Libby was a student of archaeology, the place felt like a treasure to her. She took a few items and later showed them to Roy at home, telling him where she found them. In the next scene, Rose and Florrie bring a dress they had sewn for Libby. They mention that their father could have made it even better, but because of the war, that work had also been taken away from him. Libby truly understood their pain. While dropping them off at the camp, Florrie confesses that she is in love with an American soldier who guards the camp and asks Libby to meet him someday. Libby agrees and wishes her well before returning home. When Libby gets back, she sees Roy burning the antique items she had brought. Shocked, she runs toward him and asks what he's doing. Roy says they are too old and useless, so he's burning them. Libby becomes angry and asks if he doesn't understand their value. Seeing them burn makes her deeply upset, and she goes inside. Roy follows her and apologizes, saying he's just an uneducated man and doesn't understand such things. But since they matter to her, he promises it won't happen again. The next day, Roy leaves for work after writing her a letter. In it, he apologizes again and tells her that if she wants antiques, she can check the basement of their house. Libby goes to the basement and finds it full of treasures. She carefully brings them out one by one, cleans them, and decorates the house with them. She even playfully troubles Roy while making him help, but he does everything happily for her sake. As months pass, Libby learns from a cookbook and bakes a special cake for Roy. She plans a candlelight dinner to confess her love to him. But when Roy returns home, he's holding a letter and looks upset. Suddenly, he snaps at her, telling her to leave him alone. Libby doesn't understand what has happened. In reality, the letters Libby had been secretly sending to her boyfriend over the past months have finally been answered by Edward. Roy hands her the letter and asks if Edward doesn't know she is married. Libby has no answer and remains silent. Hurt and disappointed, Roy walks away. The next day, Libby confesses everything. She says she shouldn't have hidden the truth. She explains that she thought Edward would reply, and she would eventually marry him. She had agreed to marry Roy only because of her father's pressure. Even after the marriage, she couldn't forget her boyfriend and kept writing to him secretly. She admits that she once thought she would find an excuse to leave Roy and go back to her boyfriend. But after living with Roy and experiencing his kindness and love, she realized she had never met someone as good and honest as him. Now she says she has truly fallen in love with Roy. After saying this, Libby broke down in tears. Roy gently told her not to cry, then kissed her and left for work, making it clear that he had forgiven her. Still, Libby felt deeply guilty for hurting him. That night, she went to Martha's house and told her everything. She apologized for her mistakes there as well. When Libby returned home, she felt even more emotional after thinking about Martha's words. She began to miss her mother, who had passed away when she was very young. Seeing her like this, Roy tried to comfort her and asked her to share whatever was troubling her. That's when Libby opened up about her past, how her mother died in her childhood, leaving her lonely. Her father never had time for her. During that time, she met a soldier who tried trusted her so much that she gave him her complete trust in return. She started dreaming of building a life with him, but he betrayed her and broke her heart. As she said this, Libby cried even more. She admitted that she had loved a man who was unfaithful, and because of him, she had even thought about betraying a kind man like Roy. She said she now felt ashamed of herself. Overcome with guilt, she began hitting her head, and Roy calmed her down. A few days later, everyone was sitting together at the dinner table. After this dinner, Libby was planning to leave. After Thanksgiving dinner, Libby prepared to go. Both of them had tears in their eyes. Libby loved Roy, but she couldn't forgive herself for what she had done to him, and that's why she felt she shouldn't stay with him. Roy, being the kind person he was, respected her decision and didn't want to force her to stay. He told her that from the very moment she entered his house, he had fallen in love with her, not just with her, but also with the child she was carrying. He said he had always considered the baby not just hers, but theirs. He also mentioned that he had forgotten to bring the wedding ring on their wedding day, but he still had it safe. If she wanted, he could put it on her finger now. Libby asked him if he could ever truly accept her with all his heart, if she was even worthy of his love. Roy replied that he had never rejected her. He said he couldn't live without her and asked her not to leave if she truly had feelings for him. In that moment, they both confessed their love and became one. In the next scene, Libby is driving, looking very happy. She is wearing her wedding ring. She goes to the camp to meet Flori and Rose. There, Flori's boyfriend appears to be an American soldier, but in reality, he is a German prisoner of war wearing an American uniform. Libby lets him sit in the back of the truck while she, Flori, and Rose sit in the front. Then Libby looks at Flori and says, "Are you out of your mind?" From the way he spoke, Libby realized the man was German. Flori then admitted that he was a German prisoner of war. She had secretly made him an American soldier's uniform so he could escape using her tailoring skills. Rose was shocked and angry that Flori hadn't told her earlier. Libby warned them that if the army found out, not only Flori but also her family could face life in prison. After a lot of convincing, Flori finally understood the seriousness of the situation. Libby decided to help handle things. She dropped Flori and Rose off near the camp and took the soldier with her. At home, she quietly made a plan. She left the truck keys in front of him on purpose and sent him upstairs to change clothes. Meanwhile, she removed the extra fuel from the truck so he wouldn't get far. Just as she expected, the soldier saw the keys, took the truck, and tried to escape. Libby immediately reported it to the army, explaining that the fuel was low and he wouldn't make it far. Right after that, she went into labor. But before anything else, she burned the uniform Flori had made so that neither Flori nor Rose would get into trouble. She even threw her old locket into the fire, symbolizing that she was letting go of her past. Soon, the soldier was caught by the army when the truck ran out of fuel. Around the same time, Roy returned home and became worried seeing Libby in pain. When he realized their baby was about to be born, he was filled with happiness. Martha was quickly called in to help, and she safely delivered the baby. Roy held the child in his arms with deep love, accepting the baby as his own without hesitation. Libby watched him with emotion, realizing his true goodness, and they shared a heartfelt moment. Months later, the story shows them as a happy family. Roy, Libby, and their child, along with Franklin, go out for a small picnic, finally living a peaceful and loving life together.